Hey everyone, this is Erathsmus with SoCal GG, and I wanted to put a video together for showing something that I think delineates players who could be extremely resourceful with some of their combat summons versus those that might struggle with it. A big part of that, I think, is leveraging elementals or combat summons with your buff suite that you might have on your mages. That being said, there's a lot of different types of elementals. The first one we're going to start with is Earth Elementals. Each elemental likes something different. Earth Elementals have a high HP pool, they have some protection, some regeneration, and trample. So things that I find helpful on them is stuff like being ethereal or flying. Regeneration might be nice to add to them additionally. And there's a few other spells you could do to increase their combat speed to aid their trample as well. So there's a few different buffs that Earth Elementals like. And every elemental has a different buff suite that they enjoy having due to those inherent properties of the chassis. And it makes it very interesting. So in this case, we are going to go ahead and send in a couple debug senseis, and we're going to give that Earth Elemental Ethereal. And I'll show you how this is kind of done. So one thing with scripting for elementals is it's very finicky. So you have to be pretty spot on with your unit spacing and the timing of your spells. Summoning an Earth Elemental is combat speed 125, or 125% casting speed. And Body Ethereal is 100%. So you need to keep that in mind when you're running your script. Another important thing to keep in mind is the size of units. These are size 2. You have 6 total size to fit in one square. So keep that in mind because mages, and this is extremely important, mages do not like targeting themselves after they've received their buff. And what that means is you could give them their buffs. You could pile them in a cube and give a buff if there's enough range on it. Or if it's short range like Body Ethereal, you'll need to do a conga line so that after you created your unit, it walks over to your other guy and it's within buff range of his spell and he doesn't accidentally prioritize himself. So let's take a look. There goes Body Ethereal. So we see that they both are now ethereal, so they won't target each other with ethereal. Then we're going to have cast summon Earth Elemental. So one's going to pop out here. And he's going to be on hold for one turn due to the casting time. So he's on hold. The range is only 5 on Body Ethereal, so this needs to pass through him as he's casting it. He's preparing to cast. And there we go, right on the edge of his casting range. And here goes our Ethereal Earth Elemental for 1 gem. And these guys are going to have a hell of a fun time trying to fight that. And he's regenerating. He's ethereal. So as you can imagine, this, I took out all these units with a gem. Yes, it is using 2 mages though, but look at that efficiency you could get from 1 Earth Elemental when you do something like that, and it's pretty cool. Now, there's many other chassis that are like this, and we're going to run through this. Hopefully I don't have to replay this too many times because of how finicky it is and how I could forget spacing sometimes. So let's take a look at another elemental. This is pretty fun stuff. We're going to look at a fire elemental next. So what could a fire elemental want? Well, looking here, they got an okay HP pool, terrible protection. They have this flame strike attack. AoE 1, number of attacks 1. Okay, so being able to attack more is pretty good. Maybe something like quickness could help them. And then protection, we need to get that up. Defense skills, pretty poor too. So let's focus on how to get the protection of a fire elemental up. Alright, let's go ahead, get ourselves some fire gems. And I'm going to leave some earth gems on here. And I think iron skin is going to be a great spell for that. Okay, now how are we going to do this? Let's think about this. Okay, we're going to want iron skin on both of them. But maybe we want iron warriors to get it on both at once when this starts. Range is 15. Okay, I think that's a good idea. So what we're going to do here, 15 should be enough that we could catch him with our range. Just by scripting this twice, really easy. Okay, so this is 125. This guy is 100. This will go off and buff both of them. And after that, range 15 should be enough such that it can reach the fire elemental while it's still traveling. Okay, nice and easy. Let's do that. Let's throw some random garbage. All right, let's throw them at each other. Here we go. Oops. Okay. So here we got them in the same square, size 2 each. We have 6 max, so an AoE 1 iron skin is going to hit them both. Okay, so let's check that out. Iron Warriors just applied to both of them, so they're not going to try to do it again on themselves. Uh-oh. Hopefully they don't explode in flame. This guy passes by. We have another cast of Iron Warriors. Boom, look at that. And this guy is gonna have a heyday with these regular old dudes. Or they're gonna run straight past him. Alright, is anybody even? Okay. So yeah, that's something that the fire elemental liked. And again, there's tons of different buffs you could do, which is really cool. Lost a debug sensei, oh well. Alright, it's a turn to get him back there. What happened? What the hell? I told you all to go there. Guess they got possessed or something. Alright, we got a few more types of elementals that we could look at too. And now that you've got the gist of this, I'm just going to bring up a couple notes. Air elementals are very similar to fire elementals in that they like protection buffs. They could cause some major havoc with protection buffs. Tricky part is, I mean, it's not actually tricky. You just do the same thing I did now with the fire elementals to the air elementals. It'll look like they won't be able to script Iron Skin and hit them with it, but they will during their flying animation. Let's take a look at water elementals. So these guys have underwater regeneration. You could give them regular regeneration. You could also give them a protection buff. And one that I know a lot of people like to do on this is Moss Body. So this is the basics. And I want to add that this works for wisps as well, and it can be pretty handy on them. But you can't hit wisps with these spells that you just saw me do. And the reason why you can't is because the range of those buffs is not high enough. And this is where I think it really steps up to the next caliber in buff scripting for elementals or combat summons in mass. And a lot of people will know this, that with Swarm Spam or Creeping Doom Spam, you could really use those large AoE buffs to get more out of those summons. So I'm just going to give a quick example here to show you how to do something like this. And there's a spell that, and this is where we're kind of going a little bit off meta, because now we're entering territory that I like and other people don't like and all that fun business. Is you could do combination scripts with what I think is a very powerful spell, which is the living spells. So the living spells summon multiple elementals at once. Now normally you couldn't buff them the same way you would now, but you could give them the full buff suite by doing larger AoE buffs. And I'm going to show that off really quick. This is where you could cause some massive damage to people that are not prepared. You don't need to worry so much about spacing with this, but let's go ahead and try this guy out. So let's do Living Earth. And what I'm going to do with this again, that's casting speed 125. Casting 175. So let's do a mass regeneration. And we gotta space this out properly. So we're gonna try putting him here. Hope he doesn't get killed too quick. And then I'm gonna throw in another really quick one, which I think is gonna be pretty funny. Come on, where are you? Let's do Wave Warriors. Range 15. That might be a little tricky to get the range right. But again, this is just kind of showing you some of the cool stuff that you could try doing. The idea behind what I'm doing now is to stack their regeneration a little higher, and then also give them resistance to physical weapons. And this might not be meta or anything like that, but it's giving you an example of where to start. Just to kind of show you, there's a lot of creative things you could do with this. All right, so now we've got these guys. Regeneration 10%. Now let's see mass regeneration. Oh, shoot, did I miss it? Okay. So I accidentally sped up a little bit too fast there. So we can see on here, these are size. Huh. Mess that one up. So maybe mass regeneration didn't do what I thought it would, but here we could see our liquid body stacking onto them, giving them their resistances. These guys are going to be very annoying. There might be some weird interaction where mass regeneration didn't stack with that. Let me watch that again really quick. Huh. Let me check something really quick. Is it limited? Oh, okay. My bad. So mass regeneration is limited regeneration, which does not stack with their base regeneration. So that is a case where it won't really work with these guys. I might want something else on them. But this piercing and slashing resistance did work. One side note about this is that these guys are only size 4 versus you could get size 6 with a single elemental. You may have noticed I'm using more gems for something like this too. So you got to keep that in mind, is we took 1 gem earlier and we made some short work out of these guys. Well, if we want to do a strategy like this, we might need to spend a little bit more gems, but that is quite a bit more on the field that we get versus what we got before. And you could even wait for 2 castings of this and then start engaging your buff suite. This is important for things like wisp plays though, because wisps will spawn on the corners of the map. So you would need to use spells that might affect the whole battlefield or might have extremely far range compared to before when we were showing the individual buff scripts. So I hope this was fun for you to be able to see and gives you some ideas of some cool things you could start doing with your elementals or with your combat summons in general. And there's pretty much something for everyone in all the different paths. Or let's take a look. Evocation, we got our fire elementals, air elementals, water, earth. Astral does not have a whole lot in terms of summons that can make use out of this. Death, you do have your skeletons and etc. Your Lamashtas won't take those buffs, but your corpse candles will, as a fun side note, and you do get quite a few of them. So death is a little sparing in that. Nature has some decent ones. You can buff your howl units, and you can also buff your swarms, as well as your the bigger version of Swarm Creeping Doom. And I'm not looking through this guy, but let's see. Water, you have your water elementals. We've got blood, which has some odd ones. You can do Erathsmus. They're not all that amazing, but you can do them. And you can do things like imps, and from those imps you could buff them with Rush of Strength. Or the one that affects only demons. There it is. Bloodlust. There we go. So Bloodlust will apply to your demons. Entire battlefield. So you could do things like send imps all across the battlefield and then stack other things on top of them as well. Whether it's worth stacking things on them, it even says here, you don't want to stack this with other magic. Depends on how much value you want to get out of it. Well, I hope that was fun for you guys and just kind of sparked some creativity. All right, see you around.